Hey gamers, this is Liz Davis from Beyond Solitaire, and I'm here with game designer and Zenobia Award finalist Annabelle Journey. How you doing tonight, Annabelle?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's super exciting to talk to you about your game Aguirre. So, for people who have not been following the Zenobia finalists and their games, what is like just the basic rundown of the game you made?
Sure. Garrett is a historical Euro game set in the year 1560 when the new viceroy of Spain to South America arrived and found the colonies there overrun with all manner of troublemakers, thieves, murderers, malcontents, political dissidents. And to get rid of these people, he came up with a very clever idea. I'm going to start a new expedition to go find El Dorado. So we organized what would be the final major expedition to go find the fabled mythical city. Put a famous conquistador in charge by the name of Ursua, and off they went into the jungle, most of them never to be heard from again. Unfortunately for Ursua, problems started right away, and not the least of his problems was the presence of an individual by the name of Don Lope de Aguirre, who had just spent the previous 3 years of his life revenging himself permanently upon a magistrate who had once had him flogged in public. He hunted this guy down, he killed him in a very slow and painful kind of way, and then to escape what South American law there was at the time, he joined this expedition as a way to exonerate himself. He was not a dumb person, however. He knew that El Dorado did not really exist. And so he tried to talk Ursula into reorganizing the purpose of the expedition to go back and conquer Peru, where all the real gold really was. Ursula did not go for this, and so Aguirre engineered his assassination. He propped a young, naive nobleman by the name of Fernando Guzman up as a figurehead lead of the expedition, had him declare the new intent, and when he started to not do as Aguirre so desired, Aguirre had him executed as well, and throwing aside all pretext, he declared himself the prince of all South America, and started to lead his band on a rampage through the jungles of the Amazon with the intent of sailing the Amazon and the Orinoco rivers, crossing the northern coast of South America to Panama, crossing back overland, and arriving back in Peru where he would conquer and take over the land for himself. He got pretty far. He did wind up navigating the longest river voyage in history up to that point in time. He conquered the island of Margarita and took over a little town on the mainland as well that the natives abandoned so that they wouldn't have to deal with this guy. Along the way, his expedition, which started off in the thousands, faced all sorts of threats and challenges in the form of lack of morale, privation, navigating unfamiliar territory, shaky relations with the native tribes in the area. None of these challenges were as dangerous to the members of the expedition as Aguirre's growing and mounting paranoia was itself. He had come to power here through a bloody sort of way, and through blood he tried to maintain his control as well. So he staged periodic and random executions to keep control of the men through terror, and eventually was able to get this marginal enough success that the Spanish government had to take notice. They organized a counter expedition to go stop him, and eventually Aguirre was surrounded in this abandoned village where he was turned over by a couple of his men, representatives of only a handful of remaining survivors. And in the game, players will take the role of these hapless members of the expedition trying to survive all the challenges of the Amazon jungle, and Gary's growing paranoia itself, and try to be those sole survivors to uh, come away and be able to tell the tale of the bloody tyrant Don Lope de Aguirre.
So, what got you into this topic? I've never heard of this guy, but this sounds very interesting.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, he's this absolutely insane story of attempted bloody conquest, lost to history pretty much. I stumbled upon this tale thanks to the writings of my favorite science fiction writer, Robert Silverberg, who was a very prolific grandmaster, wrote dozens and dozens of science fiction novels, also historical novels, erotica, and a great deal of nonfiction and textbooks. And one of these was a book called The Golden Dream, which chronicled all of the major expeditions to go find El Dorado. And the longest chapter, and the one that stuck out the most to me out of all of these attempts, was the story of Aguirre. And it's something that I was unfamiliar with at the time. It stuck in my head, and I thought this is a really interesting historical event that more people should know about as this insane example of things that can happen if people don't take guard.
Fascinating. And what kinds of mechanisms did you like? What made you think this would be a good board game? And what kinds of mechanisms did you use to express this story?
Yeah, let me show you what I've got going on over here at my
Yes.
online mock-up at Screen Top.
I don't know anything about using screen top, so I'm already impressed.
All right, Screen Top was an option for the Zenobia contestants to create the online version of their game. I had tried to use Tabletopia and Tabletop Simulator in the past and found them extremely frustrating, both to use and to try to uh, program a game with eventually. And so one of the mentors in the Zenobia competition, Zoe Allred, is an expert on screen top, and I was able to reach out to it and draw upon Zoe's expertise in using this particular program, which I immediately fell in love with because it's not a physics based online engine like Tabletop Simulator is. It's a two-dimensional representation, and I found it a lot more user-friendly. And with Zoe's help, I was able to manipulate some components in some really in some ways that I found challenging to try to do both in person and on these other online formats. All right, so anyway, in my game, which lasts over the course of 10 rounds, let's zoom in a little bit here. All right, players have a player board where they will be increasing their ability in these various skill tracks: morale, privation, health, outfitting, and navigation to overcome the historical challenges that are presented to them during the course of the game. Each of the 10 rounds revolves around what I hope other people will find to be a fun, clever mechanism, which I like to call card cluster drafting. These rings here are concentric rings. In my physical prototype, these are a combination of a turntable, a Christmas wreath, crafting ring, and some cardboard. In an ideal published kind of setting, this would be something like what Last Light does with rotating rings on the board that you can rotate independently. And here in Screen Top, we are able to do that as well
Ooh.
in either direction that we so desire. So at the beginning of their turn, each player has a meeple here on the outside of the circular board where the cards are dealt out, and they can pay essentially paranoia cubes, which are these little pieces over here next to their player board, to rotate each ring as many times as they so desire to try to align the ideal column of cards that they would like to draft. These columns consist of an historical expedition member, which is a small deck of 20 cards. Let's zoom back in here. There we go. And each one of these represents a variable player power that players have access to on a temporary basis just for this round only. You have the opportunity to either purchase or sell a supply card in the middle ring, which will help improve their skills in those various tracks to help deal with the challenges, and plays a role in some tableau building for the player to customize their own special effects and abilities during the course of the game to survive these challenges. And finally, each player will draft a challenge card, which details an actual historical event of the expedition and is color coded to represent the different kinds of challenges that the players or that the expedition had to overcome. Those align with their player board. During the course of the game, there's thresholds that players try to meet. That's what these markers are here on the bottom to represent. Players can overcome these challenges at a minor level for a little bit of rewards. They can overcome the challenges at a major level if their skills are high enough for a much more exciting reward. In either case, they get a bump on these corresponding colored challenge tracks as well, every two of which they get a fabulous reward of some kind. There's a lot of fun track advancement stuff here to combo some special bonuses when players reach particular spaces, and whoever gets furthest on each one gets a thematic endgame scoring bonus for themselves. At the end of each of the 10 rounds, we have the paranoia phase. All of those paranoia cubes that a player used to rotate the various rings of the board go over onto the corresponding person that they wound up drafting over here on the expedition sideboard. As the game goes on, as players draft the same people or the opponents draft these people as well, it'll accumulate different colors of the paranoia cubes, which represents Aguirre's suspicion being directed towards these various people and the players themselves. Because at the end of each of the 10 rounds, we randomly select one of those people that were drafted to die. Aguirre executes them, and they are removed from the game, never to return, and all the paranoia cubes that were on them go into the players in the physical game. These are little cloth bags that are accumulated here on screen top. It's this little secret holding area. And at the end of the game, whoever winds up with the most of these paranoia cubes in their holding area, because the people that they were influencing too much, that person is executed in turn by Aguirre, and they are eliminated from the game and unable to win. Of the surviving players, whoever has the most influence points, which are like victory points, only more influential, that player is the winner. And
Okay, so I
the
just saw
one
a
who gets to
dog.
turn
Please
over
tell me
Aguirre
there's a
and
dog.
survive. There he is. But you don't want
Dog.
to know what happens to the dog in the historical tale.
Uh-oh.
It's nothing good.
Okay, we won't air that
There's
on here, but I'm gonna go look it up later. So just this is like you've got like a whole set of systems going. How many of them were there, I guess, in the early part of the process, and how many have like evolved through your work during Zenobia? How has the game
absolutely.
changed?
So the original concept of this game, I started working on off and on almost 10 years ago. And I've been toying with it. The Zenobia competition really gave me the opportunity to buckle down and try to bring all these various ideas that I've had bouncing around in my head and in various very terrible paper formats all together in a cohesive whole. The idea of some of the cards that players would have access to during the course of the game periodically dying and then coming back into and unable to come back into play, that was an idea that has stuck around from the very beginning because I think that's a really unique thing and also a thematic thing that ties the players in with the experience. The card cluster drafting is a new thing that I developed for the Zenobia competition. And I'm really excited at how it's been playtesting and how uh, different players have chosen to manipulate or not press their luck and just work with the column that they are aligned with in order to not be that player that is eliminated at the end of the game.
That's awesome. And so there's only a couple days left until you submit for Zenobia. Do you feel like you're pretty much ready to submit your final draft, or are there still changes going on?
What a fun question. I'm very stressed out about the deadline, as a matter of fact, because uh,
It's mostly here. You're gonna be
the,
okay. Whatever.
the online components here, everything is uploaded, everything is programmed here for the 3 player setup. I need to make some adjustments for the 4 player and the 5 player setup, and I need to make some changes in my rule book with some recent uh, rule additions that I've been working on that I hope the judges are excited by. Uh, Changes based upon the feedback that I got in the semifinal round. Um, that has been really helpful in focusing some ideas that I had, making things more streamlined and more fun despite the dark theme of the game.
Indeed. All right, I'm going to ask you one more serious question, then a couple softies. So the serious one is just, what are you hoping that people will come away with after they play your game?
I hope to create a memorable experience for the players, something that they would want to both experience again and share with others.
Excellent. And then just as sort of like a wrap up, people who make games often play them, hopefully. So what are some games that you've played recently that have brought you some joy?
Oh, I play a lot of games because I think it's important for a game designer, like any artist, to be consuming the art that they work in on as often as possible to keep that motivation and to remind themselves of the fun that is involved in their art as well. Most recently, Rats of Y Star. That is a game that I've really been enjoying this year. I just ran at our local convention called NewtCon. Everybody had a really fun time with it, and it's one that I've been coming back to a lot in the previous several months.
Excellent. And then do you have an online presence where people can follow your work?
Uh, yeah, let's see. You can look me up at on Facebook and Journey or on Board Game Geek under the username Annabelle Lee. I'm the moderator of the monthly Out of the Dust Geek List. If you type that into Google, you can find that geek list where we talk about games that we've enjoyed the previous month that we haven't played in a while. It's lots of fun, and that's a good way to connect with me as well.
Fantastic. Annabelle, thank you so much for your time. And I'm super excited about your game. I am really, really happy for you. Congrats on being a Zenobia finalist.
And thank you so much. I'm very excited as well, and I can't wait to see what becomes of the games of all the other finalists as well. There's a lot of cool ideas being developed, and I hope they all turn into games.
Well, I can say that it was my great pleasure to interview finalists last time. With ones you're doing it this time, is that a lot of these games tend to go somewhere. So I will just look forward to where they all land because I'm excited about it too.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on. It was a treat.
Uh, the feeling is mutual. All right, everybody out there, if you're looking for me, I can be found anywhere as Beyond Solitaire. Again, Annabelle, thank you so much for your time. And everybody else out there, please like, subscribe, comment, ask questions, and most of all, happy gaming.